I request the chief guest, Shri Dattatreya Hosabale ji, to kindly deliver the convocation address.
JSS ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯ ಕುಲಾಧಿಪತಿಗಳು, JSS ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯ ಅಧ್ಯಕ್ಷರಾಗಿರುವ ಪರಮಪೂಜ್ಯ ಜಗದ್ಗುರು ಶ್ರೀ ಶಿವರಾತ್ರಿ ದೇಶಿಕೇಂದ್ರ ಮಹಾಸ್ವಾಮಿಗಳ ಚರಣಾರವಿಂದಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ನಮಸ್ಕರಿಸುತ್ತೇನೆ. Respected Justice Shivraj Patil ji, respected Executive Secretary Dr. C.G. Best Surmat, Professor Chancellor, Pro-Chancellor Dr. B. Suresh ji, Vice Chancellor Dr. Surinder Singh ji, other dignitaries and guests on the dais and off the dais, honorable professors, deans and members of teaching faculty, my dear young students, sisters and brothers who have become the graduates and postgraduates and who have been conferred with PhDs today. Very hearty congratulations to all of you, and I wish you every success in your lives and all your endeavors. At the outset, I would like to express my heartfelt thanks to the JSS Academy of Higher Education for inviting me to deliver the 13th Convocation address this year. I have been included in the league of very eminent persons and scholars who have been the chief guests at the convocations in the past. I am aware that this honor, although I do not deserve it, has been conferred on me only because of the revered Swamiji's affectionate blessings. JSS institutions, inspired and guided by Sri Suttur Math, have been rendering great service in the field of education for many decades now. Students coming from different geographical, social and other backgrounds are not only admitted into these institutions, but are also allowed as members of the vast JSS Academy of Higher Education and Research family. The alumni of these institutions, who are spread over many parts of the country and the world, proudly remember and respect their alma mater. Innumerable boys and girls coming from humble backgrounds have been able to receive their education and build their lives because of the kindness and concern of the Swamijis of the Suttur Math and this institution. The JSS educational institutions have carved a niche for themselves due to the quality of education, efficient administration, a healthy academic environment, and a spiritually based, socially oriented leadership. Any society would be proud of such an institution of learning. I, on behalf of the entire society, humbly place on record the gratitude to Sri Suttur Math and JSSR institutions. This beautiful city of Mysore, known as a garden city, has also been a prominent center of education in this part of the country for a long period now. Many respected scholars have been teachers in this city in various colleges and universities. The illustrious list includes Bharat Ratna Dr. Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan, former President of Bharat, and Rashtrakavi Dr. K.V. Puttappa, the recipient of Jnanapith Award, and many others. A large number of students who passed out of the campuses of this city have achieved great heights in their career and contributed immensely to the cause of nation building. I can take at least one name which comes to my mind at this moment, that is Justice Venkatramaya, who was the Chief Justice of India, who also hails from this society. The importance of education in the life of human beings cannot be overemphasized. Education, as Swami Vivekananda aptly put it, is the manifestation of perfection which is already in man. Real education builds character, develops personality, imparts skills, hones talent, imbibes confidence, and makes a person capable of contributing to the society apart from leading a meaningful life. Bharat has been a cradle of civilization, mostly because of the significance it laid on education and knowledge. The long and great tradition of education is a proud possession of our nation. The colonial period saw the destruction of this tradition. Referring to the immense damage the British rulers caused to the wonderful education system that India had, Mahatma Gandhiji, in his address to Chatham House in London on 20th October 1931, lamented that the beautiful tree perished. We had great universities of Takshila, Nalanda, Vikramshila, and others that attracted students from many other countries. Bharat was the most sought after educational destination in ancient times. Learnings and knowledge systems in the realm of physical world, including arts and linguistics, science and medicine, astronomy and mathematics, in philosophical studies, and in spiritual pursuits, placed our country Bharat on the seat of Vishwaguru. Not only in the field of education and knowledge, Bharat had occupied a place of prominence, but it was also a highly prosperous country once. In this context, it would be relevant to mention the OECD project under the chairmanship of reputed historian Professor Angus Maddison. OECD is Organization of Economic Change and Development. They constituted a committee to study the economy of different countries in the world. This committee studied the history of the GDP of the world, and when its report was published in 2004, the whole world was shocked. With 34% share of world's wealth, India was once the wealthiest country, that too for 1,000 years uninterruptedly, without looting or exploiting any other country. That was the place India had in the field of economy and in wealth. There is no parallel to this in human history. By this, we can understand that India was occupying a covetable place in the comity of nations. During the period of inspiring freedom struggle, many prominent persons of our nation deemed it important to establish indigenous educational institutions to create generations of evolved and capable men and women. In this regard, to name a few, I reverentially mention Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore for establishing Vishwa Bharati at Shantiniketan, Mahamana Madan Mohan Malviya for founding Banaras Hindu University, Ganesh G. Agarkar for his work in Maharashtra, Jamshedji Tata for founding Indian Institute of Science in Bangalore, DAV institutions in northern part of India, Mysore's Krishnaraj Wadeyar and Bharat Ratna Vishweswaraya for starting many institutions. The contributions and achievements made by these knowledge centers are well known. The importance that education receives in any part of the world can be understood by an interesting page from history. Thomas Jefferson, who was president of USA, before death left instructions for his tombstone. He desired that his grave be marked by an obelisk inscribed by the three accomplishments for which he most wished to be remembered and not a word more. He said it should be inscribed, here was buried Thomas Jefferson, author of the Declaration of American Independence, of the Statute of Virginia for Religious Freedom, and father of the University of Virginia. Conspicuously missing is the fact that Jefferson held all of the higher offices of political service, including Governor of Virginia, Secretary of State, Vice President, and of course President of US. He did not want these to be mentioned on his tombstone. He wanted that his name should be mentioned as father of University of Virginia. Soon after attaining independence, Bharat turned its attention towards rebuilding education. Several commissions with prominent educationists such as Dr. Radhakrishnan, Sir Lakshmanaswamy Mudaliar, and Dr. D.S. Kothari as their heads were appointed in a series of efforts to decide the policy, program, and pattern of education. Although these commissions made exemplary recommendations, meaningful change in education to redeem our society from the mindset of colonization and develop an education system indigenous both in content and structure could not be effected. The challenges of education resulted in complex socio-economic problems. This necessitated a fresh education policy in 1986. This policy gave birth to Program of Action for implementation. The expansion of education till then, however faulty and inadequate it might have been, has resulted in many desirable changes in our country over the years. Bharat has progressed at an impressive pace in recent years. Life has become easy and full of consumer items. There is road and air connectivity to far-off areas. More vehicles of categories are visible. Dazzling festivities on various occasions, including wedding ceremonies, are more common. Benefits of science and technology are reaching every segment of community. Electronic devices and gadgets are omnipresent. Media and communication have impacted life like never before. There is an increased health awareness and concern for cleanliness, heightened consciousness of legal and constitutional rights. Democracy is better understood. People know and wield the power of vote better. The potential and capabilities of our nation under the efficient and patriotic leadership at the helm have made remarkable achievements in many strategic areas also, such as space technology, international diplomacy, transparent and faster governance, tackling of militancy and terrorism, etc. World was surprised to see how Bharat has successfully addressed the challenge of the recent pandemic. The manner in which lakhs of migrant laborers during lockdown period walked from western and southern parts to eastern states was exemplary. They didn't shout slogans against anybody. Thousands and thousands ordinary migrant laborers were moving on the roads. They did not shout any slogans against anybody. Didn't demand anything. Nowhere indulged in looting or violence. They just walked. Local people on the way also showed solidarity. They provided food, water, milk and beverage, footwear for the needy. This was a great and most satisfying scene, which in many parts of the world was absent. Military and army had to be called by many governments in different parts of the world during the period. The intrinsic strength of our society is experienced on such occasions. On the part of the government, addressing the challenges of the pandemic and the vaccine mission have been watershed achievements. Education with a vast network in India today has expanded in various dimensions. Access, participation, experimentation, research and attainments, although there is a deficit of quality and impact. This quality factor, which has been identified repeatedly, has to be addressed effectively. Also, some of the very fundamental issues of education required better deal. The dire need for another comprehensive policy was fulfilled only in the year 2020 in the form of National Education Policy, NEP 2020. It's a transformative education policy, widely considered a game changer, which is expected to usher in a new era in our country. The following vision of this policy makes it clear. The National Education Policy envisions an education system rooted in Indian ethos that contributes directly to transforming India, that is Bharat, sustainably into an equitable and vibrant knowledge society by providing high quality education to all and thereby making India a global knowledge superpower. The policy envisages that the curriculum and pedagogy of our institutions must develop among the students a deep sense of respect towards the fundamental duties and constitutional values, bonding with one's country and a conscious awareness of one's role and responsibilities in a changing world. The vision of the policy is to instill among the learners a deep-rooted pride in being Indian, not only in thought, but also in spirit, intellect, and deeds, as well as to develop knowledge, skills, values, and dispositions that support responsible commitment to human rights, sustainable development and living, and global well-being, thereby reflecting a truly global citizen. This is the vision that NEP has. Other parts of the policy have discussed various dimensions and approaches to make India's education an effective instrument of socio-economic transformation. One could say with conviction that this is one policy that has generally been considered comprehensively appropriate, pragmatic, and with potential to instill hope. This policy has integrated ingredients that could link it fully to Indian ethos. It also has the potential to project India as a major international hub in education. However, everyone is keen to see how best and soon the policy will be implemented, because success of any policy is not in the glorious objectives in words, but in its implementation, as we all know. As far the objectives of higher education are considered, I feel the concluding note of the University Education Commission with Dr. Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan as chairman would be an all-time indicator. I would not like to go into the details of this note, but I will just bring to your, because it is there in printed address speech. For paucity of time, I will just go through the short headings so that how a university education should have its objective as envisioned by the commission chaired by our former president, Dr. S. Radhakrishnan at that time. He said about wisdom and knowledge. Our ancient teachers tried to teach subjects and impart wisdom. Their ideal was wisdom along with knowledge. We cannot be wise without some basis of knowledge. No amount of factual information would take ordinary men into educated men unless something is awakened in them. Since education is both a training of minds and training of souls, it should give both knowledge and wisdom. Social order, about which in the oath it has been mentioned. We must have a conception of the social order for which we are educating our youth. Our education system must find its guiding principle in the aims of the social order for which it prepares. We cannot decide what we should do and how we should do it unless we know where we are tending. Unless we preserve the value of democracy, justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity, we cannot preserve our freedom. Universities must stand for these ideals, causes which can never be lost so long as men seek wisdom. This report highlights love for higher values of life. This also underlines the need for creating true leadership for different walks of life. The university's work is to instill higher values of life in every individual and also prepare them to become leaders in their own area. It may be a small village, It may be in different walks of life. It may be in their professions. It may be at the larger level. We are building a civilization, not a factory or a workshop. The quality of a civilization depends not on the natural equipment or the political machinery, but on the character of men. The major task of education is the improvement of character. Dear young sisters and brothers, the above are the essential guiding lights not only for the universities, but more so for all of us, for you, the young men and women who are becoming graduates and postgraduates of this institution today. We are fortunate to have born in an independent democratic nation. We should be proud that this is an ancient, successful civilization. Innumerable great sons and daughters of this holy land have, with their tapasya, hard work and sacrifices, built this nation and developed its culture, philosophy and traditions. After a long and exacting struggle against foreign invasion and alien rule, we have become a free nation. This year only we have celebrated the Amrit Mahotsav on the occasion of 75th year of independence. People of all parts of the country, belonging to all segments of society, rich and poor, urban, rural and tribal, educated and illiterate, men and women and younger ones, Kisan and Mazdoor, merchant and writer and scientist, everyone has done his or her bit in this great national movement. That amply shows the unmistakable unity and oneness of our country. We are an ancient nation, one people, and one culture with diverse expressions. Diversity in India can't create distance or highlight differences. It has to be celebrated as it has an underlying factor of unity. For several decades, Bharat had to undergo many hardships. We faced wars, internecine clashes, policy problems, poverty, illiteracy and corruption, and many more. We had to beg before many countries for help. The difficult period is over now. We have been able to achieve self-reliance in food production and availability of milk. Electrification is nearly 100%. Energy security is satisfactory. Infrastructure building is at rapid pace. Massive efforts for health care of people are afoot. Nation's economy is the 5th largest in the world. Speaking to media, Bob Sternfels, CEO McKinsey and Company said that it will not only be India's decade, but India's century. Microsoft President and Vice Chairman Brad Smith recently told an Indian newspaper that India is now poised to join the ranks of top 2-3 software economies in the world. India has become a software superpower, he added. The global role of India under the leadership of our Prime Minister is evolving into an unprecedented stage. Our country is hosting this year's G20 events. Bharat's approach of world is one family, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, is being reflected in the G20's theme, One Earth, One Family, One Future. At the same time, cultural rejuvenation is happening across the country. Our highly talented young people are capable of competing with the world in many fields such as science and technology, sports and adventure, business and management, etc. Although the foreign rulers left our shores 7 decades ago, a vast section of the educated class of our country continued to be in mental slavery. The Eurocentric ideas, systems and practices, the Western worldview was still ruling us for decades. Independent nation didn't shirk them totally. The wish of Thomas Macaulay to create a class of people who are Indians in blood and color, but English in taste, in opinion, in morals and intellect was almost fulfilled. These men who held key positions in education, judiciary, administration, institutions, in art and culture arena and in media, not merely remained mentally imprisoned, but cast aspersions against India's culture and distorted the history, and had an aversion to anything desi. Therefore, there has been a national need of decolonization of minds. The soul of Bharat, long suppressed, should find utterance. A well thought out plot is being executed by some Western interests to show India in bad light, to distort its history, tarnish cultural traditions, and denigrate the values it has stood for. The course has to change. A grand narrative of Bharat has to be built. Both strengthening the cultural identity and flourishing of Bharat as a strong and prosperous nation have to be our mission. The nation is now making historic strides in these regards. Bharat is awakening. People are abandoning their long slumber. The ancient civilization has faced many ups and downs, but never is out. The body of this old society is suffering from some long-time illness, such as social inequality, casteism, social strifes, outdated customs, and so on. Also, it is gripped with some modern time ailments like unbridled consumerism, love for commodity, licentiousness, moral degradation, alienation, psychosomatic diseases, etc. We have to redeem our society from these evils. Our country has passed through trying times and has the intrinsic strength to rise again. Bharat is at the turning point of history. On one hand, it is emerging from a bleak situation to a leadership position. On the other, it has to address issues of national security, both external and internal. Inimical forces who are at work to break the country. Our towns and cities are reeling under unplanned growth and expansion with ever-increasing slums. The challenges of environmental degradation, pollution of air and water are looming large. The unending debate of a sustainable development model is still evading a final answer. All these above challenges are waiting for us to be taken up. The coming quarter of a century, when we complete 100 years of independence, has been declared as Amrit Kal. These 25 years belong to you. This will be a golden period for both for your personal lives and for the nation's life. Hence, it is extremely important how you will chart your path. What role will you play to make this nation further great? Dear friends, let us listen what Swami Vivekananda said to youth. This is the time to decide your future while you possess the energy of youth, not when you are worn out and jaded, but in the freshness and vigor of youth. You certainly have wonderful dreams for your future. May your positive dreams come true. I wish you all success in your career. Many of you also might have chosen the path of your life's journey, and I am sure you have also given thought as to how you will play a role for the betterment of our country and society. Nation has given us all comforts, fulfilled our needs. Thousands and thousands of students are unable to enter into the portals of university campuses. Let us remember how we are going to repay. We as educated citizens must know that we have a bounden duty to help our fellow beings, that we have to contribute to the noble task of nation building. For this, we should have the courage to think and act. Former President of Bharat, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam exhorted, quote, "My message to young people is to have courage to think differently, courage to invent, to travel the unexplored path, courage to discovering the impossible, and to conquer the problems and succeed." Any nation, however richly it is endowed with natural resources, the peace and prosperity in the country, and the role it plays in the world solely depend on the human beings inhabit there. It is the men and women who can make or mar a destiny of a nation. The chief architect of our constitution, revered Dr. Baba Sahib Ambedkar, made it clear in his concluding speech to the Constituent Assembly on 25th November 1949. I quote him, "I feel, however good a constitution may be, it is sure to turn out bad because those who are called to work it happen to be a bad lot. However bad a constitution may be, it may turn out to be a good if those who are called out to work it happen to be a good lot." It depends on the men and women who are working on the constitution. It is not the constitution whether it is good or bad. I had somewhere read these lines of a poem. "Wanted men, not system fit and wise, not faith with rigid eyes, not wealth in mountain piles, not power with gracious smiles, not even the potent pen, wanted men, men. Men with clear thoughts, sterling character, sweet tongue, and full of good actions. Education, as I have already told, must create such people who can eminently shoulder the responsibility. Human potential, not human resource, not human capital, I mentioned human potential is the most important factor. Unlocking the human potential, which is divine, because India sages always consider that the human potential is itself divinity, is the answer to all questions. Man's action is because of his mind. Making of the mind is the key. The sages and seers of our great land in the yore had clearly said, Mana eva manushyanam karanam bandhamokshayo. The mind is the main reason for the bondage and liberation of all human beings. Bandhaya vishayasaktam muktai nirvishaya smrutam. A mind attached to objects is said to be the cause of bondage, and a mind devoid of desires and thoughts is the cause of salvation. The jana, gana, mana. Jana is people, gana is society, mana is the mind. The jana, gana, mana has to be aroused for a rejuvenated Bharat. Bharat's destiny is to play a historic role at the global level. Vivekananda exhorted, up India, conquer the world with your spiritual power. उत्थान भारत, तुम्हारे आध्यात्मिक शक्ति से विश्व विजयी बनो. So now it is Bharat's time. Let us catch hold of it. We have to write bright pages of Bharat's future. You have immense potential. Unleash it. Make up your minds. Have a great life. I am sure you will earn name and fame and make your parents, your schools and the college, the institution, your teachers proud of you. My very best wishes to you for all your endeavors in life. Bharat Mata Ki Jai.